everyone, and welcome to another edition of Jays Talkin. Matt and Andrew here to bring some baseball talk from our living rooms to yours. If you haven't already, make sure you click the subscribe button on our YouTube channel and go follow us on social media at Dunedin Blue Jays on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. Today's guest is the 12th round pick in the 2018 draft, pitcher in the Blue Jays organization, and the honorary 5th member of the Jack Russell PA booth. Please welcome Nick Allgeyer. Nick, good seeing you, brother. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well. Can't complain. How about you guys?
We're doing well, man. We're doing well. Just trying to stay sane without baseball, and that's a little difficult right now, man. What have you been doing during quarantine in St. Louis, man?
Yeah, basically every day has been training, and then I train in the mornings and I come back, and 3 or 4 days a week I go to the golf course in the afternoon. It's about it. It's all you can really do. Social distance, and you can't go too many places. Try to stay away from as many people as you can, and the golf course and the training facility has been a good way to do it.
It's good to get outside and get a little bit of the exercise as you can, and just walking around and enjoying some of the fresh air on the golf course, man. It looks like you were just dressed up like you came back from the golf course there too, man.
I got a golf outfit on most days of the week, yeah.
Ready to go all the time, man. So you're born in St. Louis, Missouri. When was the first time you started playing baseball?
I probably started playing baseball when I was around 5, I guess. I started hockey when I was 3. So I was learning to skate when I was 3. Hockey's always been a big favorite sport of mine. So I started that when I was 3, and I probably started baseball a couple of years after that.
And who were you looking up to as a kid when you first started watching baseball? Who were some of your favorite players?
Oh, probably the most I can remember when I started watching was Albert Pujols. He was probably the best player on the Cardinals for a while, and when I was growing up in St. Louis, he was pretty big around here. Still is.
He kind of reinvigorated the Cardinals in the 2000s era there. It's you didn't hear much about the Cardinals after McGuire left, and then it seemed like right after McGuire left, Pujols came right in and just filled the void. So he was a constant professional and definitely a future Hall of Famer. And so you said you were also playing hockey as a kid.
Yeah.
In baseball. What else? What other sports were you playing as a kid? Anything else?
I played a lot of just miscellaneous stuff. I played basketball for a little bit in middle school with a couple of teammates from baseball. And then in high school, I played football, baseball, and hockey all 4 years.
And you went to St. John Vianney. Did I say that correct?
Close, yeah, Vianney.
High school in St. Louis. Your dad's a Hall of Famer there. He was inducted into the Hall of Fame in 2000. You were a 4-year letter winner, 3-year captain in baseball, hockey, and football. You were the second-team all-conference QB and MVP, and you were also the leading scorer on your hockey team. These stats are unreal. You led the team to the conference title in 2014. First-team all-conference selection as a junior after hitting .352 with 28 RBIs, 21 runs, 8 doubles, and 3 triples. You hold the school record for walks with 26 in a season. Did you have any offers to be a two-way player in college?
No. I got my first offer was from Iowa for baseball, and that was my junior year. I think it was in April, and it was pretty quick after that I pulled the trigger because I've always been a huge fan of Iowa. My dad went there and played football. I'd always been going to the football games growing up, and it was a pretty easy choice when that offer came through on the phone. And it wasn't too long after that I closed the recruiting door and was going to Iowa.
So then your senior year, you were All-State and Metro Conference Player of the Year. You hit .416, 39 RBIs, .539 on-base percentage, and then you also had a 2.76 ERA in 66 innings, and you struck out 60 batters. And then your dad was offensive lineman in college, and then your uncles played at Central Missouri football. Was there any talks of ever becoming a football player?
Oh, no, I was it, even though some of the stats say that say otherwise, I wasn't the best quarterback. I had a real good running back on my team and a real good offensive line that inflated my stats.
What about hockey for you? Any thoughts about going to play hockey?
There was definitely some thoughts to go play hockey. Hockey is one of my favorite sports. I love watching it. I love going to Blues games. It was awesome seeing that Stanley Cup last year. I guess it's still last year because they haven't even played. But there was a little bit of thought. I couldn't have gone anywhere big like Big Ten and played hockey. It's kind of a longer road with hockey. You got to go to juniors and all that kind of stuff, and not go to school right away, most likely. So it was a thought, but when I got an offer from Iowa to play baseball, it was a great school to go to, and it was easy to decide to play baseball too, because I got recruited a little bit as a two-way to go play outfield and pitch. So it was a pretty easy choice.
So was it an easy choice to pick baseball for you, or did you mull over it for a while?
No, it was I didn't mull over. I wasn't anywhere near the other two sports anywhere good enough to play. Continuing on.
So you end up going to University of Iowa. Out of the pen your freshman year, you went 2-0 with a 3.48 ERA. You made your debut in Iowa versus AIB. Did you know you were going to pitch that day, and what was going through your mind when you were on that game?
I did not know that I was going to pitch. I knew I had a chance because I think it was our second midweek, and I had gone on the first road trip down to Florida, didn't pitch. And I don't think it might have been right after that. So I knew I had a chance to pitch, and it was a pretty cool experience. I honestly don't even remember what was going through my head. I was probably a little bit nervous getting my first outing, and usually in my first outing in college when I got nervous, it always went away when I threw the first strike. So I think I threw a strike the first pitch, and I think I only threw one inning, but it was good.
And the nerves just went away from there after that one. Your sophomore year, you went 3-4. You had a 3.44 ERA. You had a team high 22 appearances, including one start. You didn't allow a run in 11 innings. You made it all the way to the Big Ten tournament. Did you know they were trying to make you a starter here? Did you want to become a starter? And what are some of the biggest challenges we see if you're a reliever and you're transitioning into a starting pitcher?
I would say just the biggest challenge is probably workload. When you're out of the bullpen, you're not throwing in too much volume. You're throwing in more volume as opposed, like in references to appearances, you throw more days, but you don't throw as many pitches. So just getting the workload up to 80, 90 pitches as a starter, it's different than coming out of the bullpen. But it was something I had started in high school, and I'd always wanted to be in a starting rotation at Iowa, and it was something that happened the year after that. Well, 2 years after that, because I had surgery the year after my sophomore year. But yeah, I always wanted to be a starter, and I like starting. I like the routine of being in a starting rotation, knowing what I have to do every day to be ready for my next start. So I like that. I'm pretty routine oriented, and it's nice to exactly know what I'm going to do every day in the starting rotation, as opposed to the pen where you got to be ready every single day. It's a little different mindset. It's you can bounce back and forth, but I prefer starting.
And you said also, your junior year, you ended up having Tommy John. We see this all the time, especially in the baseball world. But how hard is it to come back from this injury and feel 100%? How much rehab's involved? Give us a little insight on TJ recovery, and how do you block out all those negative things that could be rolling through your mind at a time like this?
Yeah, it was my rehab was probably 6, sometimes 7 days a week when I started out. It's something that you do a little bit, ease in a little bit at a time. And Dr. George Pauletas, who did my surgery, and he gave me a pretty good recovery program that I did with my trainer up at Iowa. And her name was Erica Harrison. She was really good with getting me back. the thing that helped me was the coaches at Iowa let me still be around the team, and so I didn't feel like I was just like part of the rehab group or anything like that. I was around the team, around practices. I would sit in the dugout during games and still be a part of it all. So, and I knew that it was also giving me another year to get school done. So I got to finish most of my schooling. I got 1 degree and then a couple classes left of a second degree, but I got most of it done. So it was really nice to be able to do that.
And then in 2017, you got invited to the World University Games where you had a 1.93 ERA. How cool was that experience for you getting to play in those games?
That was pretty sweet. That was over in Taiwan. That was actually my first time back on the mound, like in a game since I tore my UCL and had Tommy John. So I'm pretty sure it was against Mexico was my first outing. It was pretty sweet. It was cool to play overseas. That was the first time I had played overseas. We went to the Dominican my junior year when I had Tommy John. I still had my sling on down there, so I didn't get to play down there, but it was a part of it, and it was pretty cool to actually play overseas, especially representing the U.S., and it was pretty sweet.
In your final season, your redshirt season was a comeback year for you. You were one of 4 team captains, first team all Big Ten. You went 5-4 with a 2.41 ERA in 15 starts. You were second in school history in strikeouts. You had 95 and 97 innings, 13 quality starts. How much did you learn as a pitcher with pitching in the Big Ten?
Yeah, it was something that I got to watch for 3 years at that point. We had a lot of good starters that had gone on to get drafted, and I saw a lot of what they did. And the pitching coach that I had the previous 3 years, Scott Brickman, he had taught me a lot about pitching and knowing the game of pitching. And I got to watch the whole year prior, everyone pitch. And then Desi came in. Desi Druschel was the pitching coach when I was starting my redshirt junior year. He was a huge help. Pitch calling. He's very intelligent of knowing a lot about pitching and a lot about data. So he was really good at calling pitches. And the catcher we had, Tyler Cropley, he plays for the Nationals right now. He helped me out a lot, and so did all the defenders. I mean, I had a lot of help. So it was good.
What was your favorite part of going to Iowa to play baseball?
The coolest part was probably going over to Taiwan. That was pretty sweet. It was also pretty cool to be a part of that Big Ten championship that they won my redshirt junior year. Even though I wasn't playing, I was around a lot of the guys and still are pretty good friends with a lot of my teammates. And that was really cool to have them accomplish that and get to watch them win that. And those are probably the 2 biggest things I remember.
What do you think made you so successful in that final season at Iowa for you?
Probably just my competitiveness. I'm pretty competitive. I like to win at anything we start off, even if it's ping pong in the locker room. But that was probably a big driving factor, and just working as a Friday night guy, you got a little expectations that you run on Friday night, Saturday night. All the starters build a reputation, and you're the first guy out there on the weekend. You got to set a standard. So,
and then out of everyone, what are some of your toughest opponents you faced at your tenure in Iowa?
Let's see. I mean, there's a lot of good schools up there in the Big Ten, even though we don't get as much rep as some of the SEC schools and the down south schools, but there's a lot of real good talented players up in the Big Ten, and I think a lot of people are starting to see it with Michigan getting to the College World Series last year. There's some really good players up there.
Talk us through draft day. We heard you were watching one of your favorite shows, How I Met Your Mother. What were your emotions when the Jays called you and said that they were going to take you in the draft?
Yeah, it was pure excitement at that point. I was watching How I Met Your Mother. I do like that show a lot. I was sitting there with my dad, so he's the one that actually saw it pop up on the computer, and then I got a call probably 30 seconds after he saw it. It was a surreal experience and something I'll be forever grateful for.
We've talked to a lot of the guys on Dunedin from this past year. They say that they hate facing you in cards, no matter what game it is. They don't like playing you in ping pong. And we also heard that you're the best on the course as well and at golf. Is there anything that Nick Allgeyer is not good at?
Oh yeah, there's plenty. I am a big fan of cards, but you can get me in video games. I'm not very good at video games, and a lot of the guys in the locker room played Super Smash Bros. I didn't play too much, but if you got me on that, I'd lose a lot of games.
How would you describe your first Florida State League All-Star experience from this past year?
Yeah, that was pretty cool. Going down there to Jupiter. Jupiter is pretty nice part of Florida, so it was a good time. It was my first All-Star game appearance in pro ball, and even though I got to start the game, but I kind of got rocked a little bit. Like, a couple line drive BBs off me, but it was sweet. It was a lot of fun.
You were in Vancouver last year. Did making the jump from Vancouver to Dunedin come easier with when you had Chris Beck with you?
Oh yeah, for sure. Chris is a real big help behind the plate. Even all the people I had, Riley Adams was a big help, and Kirk, they were awesome on the plate. And another big thing was Jim Sykowski, our pitching coach. I had him in Vancouver, and he also jumped to Dunedin. So it was pretty comfortable to have him. I knew what he was about, what his coaching style was, and the comfortability factor with having him there was awesome and definitely a big help.
We talked to Justin Dillon recently, who is probably second in appearances at Jack Russell Stadium behind Nick Allgeyer, who had, I think, he pitched every game at Jack Russell, but who's counting. So you're probably the best to talk about this, but how hard or easy for you was it to pitch at Jack Russell?
I think it could be both. It could be hard and pretty easy. Some days you got when that wind was blowing in, that field would play huge. With the outfield we had too, it always made it a little easier. That outfield was pretty big, and they covered a lot of ground and took away a lot of hits that I could have been giving up. But
where does your demeanor come from? Because it seemed during the season last year that you never really got too high or too low, depending on what was going on for you. Where do you think that comes from?
I think it's just from playing sports my whole life. You know that not everything's going to go right and not everything's going to go wrong. You're going to have a little bit of both, and if you can not get too high in the good times and not get too low in the bad times, just stay kind of even keel, then you're going to be able to deal with both of them.
And what was the hardest part of that transition to your first full season of professional baseball in Dunedin this past year?
I don't know that there was anything too hard, rather than just figuring out what I had to do. Once I got my 5-day routine, the whole season kind of flowed. Even though when I was in Vancouver, it was a shorter season than what Dunedin was, I had a pretty good 5-day routine and kind of made the season just all kind of gel together. I knew what I was going to do every day, and that kind of helped. Even though you just have 5-day periods every 5 days, you start over, and I could have kept going. You keep going through the whole season.
And our final question is, you graduated summa cum laude from your high school. How much did doing well in school advance your baseball career and help you out in your baseball career when you went to collegiate and professional?
Yeah, it's definitely college was definitely harder than what it was at Vianney, but Vianney taught me like a good work ethic for getting your schoolwork done, and that schoolwork's always going to come first. Like, especially in college, they're a little more strict on getting your schoolwork done so you can play, and that was one of the big things. You always got to get all your schoolwork done and get the good grades so you can be on the field. So they taught me a lot just going through Vianney and figuring out. They did block schedule with like 4 classes instead of 8, so it taught me how to like manage, get everything done in a certain amount of time.
What are you trying to improve going into this next season whenever it begins?
Yeah, so what I've been working on a lot here was, since I've been home, is a little bit of velocity program. Just try to get a little more ticks on your velo, on your fastball, and then pitch design, and always working on perfecting all your off-speed pitches and getting consistent movement with everything. That's where you see a lot of the big leaguers that are so successful. They know exactly what their ball is going to do, and that's basically what you're working on. Consistency is a lot of baseball.
We want to say thank you, Nick, for taking some time to talk with us today. Anything you'd like to say to the fans out there?
Hope you guys are all staying safe and so practicing your social distancing in these times right now. And thanks for all your support, and hopefully we can get back out there soon for you guys.
Thank you so much, Nick. And fans, thank you for tuning in to another edition of Jays Talkin. Matt, Andrew, and Nick Allgeyer signing off. Take care.
Thank you, guys.